Finished.
My next question on idleness is, what did the dormouse do on his gap year? There's a dormouse, aren't they charming?
They're sweet.
I suppose this being QI, you know that probably the most obvious thing about a dormouse is...
They sleep in teapots.
Well, there is... According to Lewis Carroll, they sleep in teapots.
They're very quiet.
They're not mice.
Obviously,
And
yes.
they're not doors either.
Nor are they doors. They're neither doors nor mice. It's possible that the dorm is the key. It's the dormancy of them. The fact they spend so much of their time asleep. They're the only animal that will hibernate for 18 months sometimes. No, look at him asleep there.
He's dead.
Oh, shush!
He's dead. He has been killed. That creature has been killed by those falling nuts now.
No!
He tried to pick it up. Boom.
They live a surprisingly long life for small animals.
Well, if they sleep for 18 months...
What they do is they see how the harvest is going to be on the beech trees, like from very early in the season. And if they think there are not going to be many nuts this year, they just go, well, I'll sleep till the next fruiting season and see if that's a better one. And they eat as much as they possibly can. They put on huge amounts of body fat, and they can sleep for that length of time. It's quite astonishing.
A strange animal thing I have, our house, you can see the river in the bottom of the garden, and we were showing this to some people who brought their kids for like a barbecue, and a squirrel came down off one of the trees and scampered out to the edge of the water. This is the Thames now. And then started swimming in the water towards far shore. And you could see the ripple where he was going. The tail, when wet, thump, it disappeared. And we're all going, oh my God, this is fantastic. Look at the squirrel swim. And then all the parents go, Jesus, I hope he can swim all the way, because otherwise we're encouraging our children to look at a squirrel drown.
Someone go out. Get out there just in case he doesn't make it. Yes. I'll go. And then the squirrels think, Jesus, they're coming for me.
But tell me, it did make it.
Disappeared from view, but then emerged at the point where the parents go, oh God, we have to explain death to these children from this thing. Emerges out of the water, shakes himself off, tail, thump, runs into the trees on the other side.
Very happy.
And raised 400 quid for sport relief. Very good.
You have to watch the last item on every local news coverage, because 2 minutes later he was on water skis.
Now, could you demonstrate the best way to sit the dolls you have been given, which you should find somewhere, in a chair? We're really after what's best for the back. So you've got a chair and you've got a bendy...
Some say that his politics are terrifying.
Please don't pull the string.
I'm afraid these are stigs that you can buy in shops.
And you pull the string and Clarkson speaks. I can't think of anything that would give nightmares to children more than... You're the best one in the world. You're not Woody from Toy Story.
But what we're after is what you seriously think is possibly the healthiest way to sit at a chair in an office.
Well, I can reveal this is how the stig actually sits in a chair. Yeah.
So you've all gone for very unusual postures.
Yes, I love
can't
those.
believe this.
I love those.
The head just came off mine and he revealed himself to be Action Man.
I knew it. Well, you're all doing very interesting shapes.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good for his back, is it?
Oddly enough, Clarkson wins on that.
Well, it's not difficult. They've
Well,
all just
obviously,
got
yeah, but no, you
meeting.
actually win because you're right, not just because you're least wrong. The idea was that sitting up straight was supposed to be good for your posture and good for your back. It's actually quite a steep backward, 130-odd degrees, is much better for you. They're the ways not to sit, that's the way to sit. It's a bit unfortunate, you can often slip off your chair. It looks lazy, so bosses never like seeing people do it, but you can say it said on QI, so it must be true. Or you can point to the research that has been done.
I don't know if this is possible. You know how if you use a chair, like a lion tamer uses a chair, would that repel a cat?
That's how you start, I guess. You start with one of those
Just
on a
one of
cat,
them.
and then you build up through the feline species.
Really? In working with the line, you start with a smaller chair? I would
No, with a
work
cat. You start with a
with
cat and a small chair.
I would suggest starting with a lion, but with a really huge chair.
No, you start with a small cat and a small chair.
I see what you're doing.
Use Stig to show me where the nasty man touched you, Alan.
Stephen.
No, dear. Right, put them all away now, children. Thank you. Good
This
God.
must have been...
Yes. Go on.
You know, I've got bloody Jim Henson next to me. Oh, look, actually, look. What we can do is we can have our very own mock execution.
All we need now is a saw, and there you go.
Oh! Just because he revealed his identity in a book, you've got to fry him. It seems unfair. Moving on. If you can put away your toys now, please, because thank you. Let's have an ingenious interlude now. I want you all to make a homopolar motor. And you should have a bowl with these. This was first done in 1820 by one of the great scientists of the world. And it's actually rather amazing. You've got the wood screw, you've got a magnet, you've got a piece of wire, and you've got a battery, obviously.
What was it, a homophobic motor, did you say?
No, homopolar.
Homopolar.
Homopolar. It means you get rather depressed when you're gay. So, no shitty nonsense.
Sir, what do you have to do?
What's the tape behind?
No, the tape.
The tape behind. Oh, there's a man in
Take the screw in your
You touched.
right hand with the what?
What's he doing
Magnet.
now? Is that just stuck to the... What's he done? Oh, I see that.
Okay.
That's it.
Holy moly, if
that
this
is
works.
great.
And the extraordinary thing is how fast it goes round.
Jesus.
It spins round so
Oh
fast.
yeah!
It really, really does.
Still going! It's still going! I'm not even connecting!
Why doesn't mine work?
How's that working?
Look at that.
And what happens if I was to use the power from the buzzer and just...
It's still going without the wire being involved.
It's slowing down.
It's what?
It's slowing down. You can't, you know...
You don't need the wire.
It's still at some...
Your finger might be completing the circuit.
I've got sparks! I've got sparks!
dropped it down there.
Oh dear. Perhaps you could be kind. Thank you. There you are. Michael Faraday demonstrated it all that time ago in 1820.
So strong.
And the ingenious thing about it is, as you see, that the speed at which it goes around, there's almost no friction. It goes around about 10,000 RPM. All right, now, into the ice-cold shower of general ignorance we plunge ourselves. So, put your fingers on your buzzers if you could, and if they're still working, Ross. We live in a spiral galaxy, don't we? Yes, thank you.
Fine.
We live in a spiral galaxy called the Milky Way. How many arms does that spiral have? Yes.
2.
No.
Nobody
Yes, you're right, we don't know. Very good. And the reason we don't know is because we're inside it, and we could possibly know. Yeah, because we're right inside it. We can see distant galaxies and count their arms, but our own, when you're inside, you can't tell. So it's as simple as that. There you go. Now, can you be bothered to tell me what make and model of car this is? Yes?
Oh, it's a three-wheeler. What are they called? You drove one hilariously when
What
your
is it?
programme
Yeah,
kept falling
well,
over around corners.
Is it
not
a
a
Robin Reliant?
A Robin Reliant?
It's a rock.
I'm just really mean of it because I knew someone was going to do that. Because everyone calls it a Robin Reliant.
It's not a Robin Reliant or indeed a Reliant Robin. That is the Regal Supervan.
Yes.
The actual Robin was a different model, but for some reason that's the one that's stuck in everyone's head.
Right.
And there's the one that gets in the way of Mr. Bean in his Mini as well. People think that's a Robin Reliant, but in fact they are these Regal Supervans. I believe you have driven a Reliant Robin. Would you like to remind yourself of that experience?
Yes, this was setting off in it. Sheffield.
It was Sheffield, was
It
it?
was in Sheffield, and you get to the very
funny.
first corner, and that was a fast one, and then it rolled over again. And then it rolled over all day. Then it rolled over again, and then it rolled in the river.
Now, apparently letters came to your office once saying that if Mr. so-called Jeremy Clarkson
On so-called gear, yeah.
knew how to drive the Robin, he would know that you cannot drive it at speed. Yes, as if you were all incredibly disappointed by that.
Yes.
sort of-
Oh, no, it's rolled over again. I must remember to drive more
dear.
carefully. It's a completely boring road test.
So I believe you then challenged the Stig to drive it on the track.
He rolled it over.
On the first corner.
It's unbelievably comfortable to roll over it. You'd be very surprised as it flops over. I don't know why, it's the shape of the front wings, and it's just, oh, that's nice. Because, you know, it's quite annoying to be sitting bolt upright, and everybody looks a bit idiotic when they're driving. Everybody does. You actually look at people in a car. And so to just think, I'm a bit weary, and then just go, oh, yes. And have a lie down.
I once flipped a Land Rover. I had a Land Rover. So the thing went over, went bang, like, went onto its roof, onto its side. And I was my wife's lip gloss hit me in the face. And then the sat-nav that was on the dashboard just came crashing down, and I was lying there, and the dust was all over the place like that, and the sat-nav went, off route, recalculate.
It's possible to do a U-turn. Yeah.
It was a marvellous... I've just remembered when we did the rolling the Reliant Robin over, needless to say, health and safety got involved. And they made us take every single thing out of the car, including my cigarettes and cigarette lighter, lest these catapult themselves around and smack me in the eye. So every single thing had to be taken out. And then they put in this sort of, those window-breaking hammers with a very sharp point, very substantial piece of steel, a window punch. And they put that in the centre console. And the abiding memory I had as the thing was this spike. The safety equipment bloody nearly took my head off.
Well, that's unhealth and lack of safety gone mad. I'm thinking of training as either a doctor or a vet, obviously. I want the... oh, good God. I want the shortest possible course. Which should I choose? Which is the quickest one to become?
I'll do it. OK, ready?
Yeah.
Doctors. There you go.
Yes, people have it in their heads that for some reason it takes longer to qualify as a vet than as a doctor. In fact, it doesn't. By about 2 years, it doesn't. A veterinary degree takes 5 or 6 years, depending on the course. But to become British GP, you must train for a minimum of 9 years. There's 5 years you may get the word doctor, but at least... and then 12 years if you're going to be a hospital consultant. So.
How long was it for vets?
Vets was, well, depends on the course, but 5 or 6 years.
OK.
Yeah.
And then they have the highest suicide rate, do they not, of any job? Because the only people who want to be vets are people who love animals.
Yes. And most of the time you're...
They just... What you do is I love animals. I so want to be a vet when I grow up. And you study for 6 years, and then all you do is drive around the countryside killing animals. My dog's not well. My horse, it's been in the family. Eventually, it's going to get to you. Eventually, you're just going to get fed up with...
If you're doing them 3 at a time, it's surely already... And also, you're not quite as emotionally attached as you previously were. You're popping them gang-styly, you're doing them on the back, you're lining them up 3 in a row to see how many you can do with them.
I mean, I'm sometimes terrified when our vet comes to shoot the donkeys or the horses.
Donkeys or a horse. Donkey or horse, you decide. When you did that sound effect there, that's the end of EastEnders. You said it. So now, in my head, every time I watch EastEnders, and they just go...
Horses are dying.
It should have been leave you now, and you just hear... Doo, doo. I'm just going to imagine bleeding donkeys falling.
It should have been the music for James Harriet. That's what it should have been. And now, all creatures great and small.
That's how it starts.
Well, the fact is, it will take you at least 9 years to train as a GP, whereas vets can do it in 5. Which brings us ambling idly towards the scores and what reading they make. In last place, with an impressive -15, Dara O'Brien. Lounging lazily behind him on +1, Jeremy Clarkson. Just a little bit ahead there, though, on +4, it's Ross Noble. And in an episode which is all about indolence, who would ever have thought that the day would come when I'd say that our runaway winner with +12 is Alan Davies? That's all from this indolent edition of QI, so it's good night from Dara, Jeremy, Ross, Alan and me. And if it's any consolation to our losers, I'll leave them with these wise words from James Thurber. It's better to have loafed and lost than never to have loafed at all. Good night.
More quizzing here on BBC HD on Monday at 6 with Eggheads, but next this evening, the comedy continues with Shooting Stars.